There have been a lot of theories about what happened inside that house.
Are they moving at all?
No, dude, they're not moving.
Picture yourself standing at the rusted iron gates of a once grand estate in the desert hills of Santa Fe. A hush settles over the winding path that leads to Gene Hackman's final dwelling. An eerie silence filled with unanswered questions about Hollywood's forgotten hero. How did the man who once ruled the red carpet, the man with 2 Oscars to his name, end up as a phantom in his own mansion, discovered lifeless amid traces of a deadly toxin? And what pushed his own daughter, Leslie, to speak words so chilling they left both family and fans in shock? If you think you know this legend from The French Connection or Unforgiven, think again. You've only seen Gene Hackman through the polished lens of movie magic. Behind those performances lies an unsettling story of isolation, midnight phone calls, and cryptic legal papers that cast a shadow on every frame of a cinematic legacy. Stay with us, and you'll uncover the hidden rift that tore apart a family, the mysterious strangers who lurk behind the scenes, and the final that has pitted loyalty against greed. Trust us, once you glimpse the dark secrets woven into Hackman's last days, you'll never watch his films the same way again. Dive in now, because the truth about Gene Hackman's untimely fate demands every second of your attention. And as you embark on this journey with Prestige Stories, remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss a single revelation about Hollywood's deepest, darkest mysteries. Only then will you understand why some legends can't rest in peace, even long after the lights go down. Imagine stepping into a mansion so quiet that every creak of the floor echoes like a distant siren, where dusty sunlight reveals the outlines of a life once bursting with Hollywood glamour, yet now haunted by whispers of betrayal and buried truths. You brush past memories frozen in photographs, images of a legendary actor whose face once graced endless magazine covers, and find yourself wondering why, in this cavernous place, only the faintest echoes remain. This is the home of Gene Hackman, the titan of cinema who vanished from the public eye 2 decades ago, re-emerging only in death, leaving behind 2 cold bodies, a mysteriously deceased dog, and a tangled web of secrets now unearthed by his daughter Leslie, whose every word slices through the veneer of normalcy that once cloaked his family. Now, sit back, immerse yourself in the chilling details, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Prestige Stories to uncover even more haunting tales from Hollywood's darkest corners. Gene Hackman, that iconic star from The French Connection, Unforgiven, Bonnie and Clyde, and Superman, once stood at the pinnacle of cinematic reverence, strolling down red carpets beneath blazing flashbulbs, brimming with the unbreakable confidence that only adoration and awards can bring. Yet in 2004, he vanished without fanfare or official farewell, receding from the limelight as though he had never existed. At first, fans and industry insiders brushed it off. Maybe he wanted quiet retirement, or perhaps he was battling health issues out of public view. Over time, the speculation transformed into a kind of folklore. Some whispered that he was writing memoirs that would blow the lid off Hollywood's underbelly, while others believed he had sunk into a lonely depression, unwilling to let the public see him in decline. Whatever the theories, Hackman and his much younger wife, Betsy Arakawa, retreated to a sprawling estate in Santa Fe, New Mexico, seemingly determined to vanish as thoroughly as if they had stepped into a hidden dimension. Neighbors rarely saw them emerge aside from the occasional subdued grocery run or a fleeting glimpse of Hackman cradling a morning coffee, gazing with a kind of resigned sadness over the rugged mountains that encircled his property. Sometimes at dawn, Betsy would lead their oldest dog around the yard, her eyes darting nervously as though she feared the presence of watchful strangers or the intrusion of paparazzi desperate for that first snapshot in years. Yet these sightings were as brief as a breath on a winter morning, leaving more questions than answers and fueling all manner hushed conversations among the small local community. Hackman, once the towering sheriff figure in The French Connection, was scarcely recognizable in these final years. Thin, stooped, his eyes shadowed by something intangible, perhaps regret, perhaps exhaustion, perhaps both. Betsy became his primary caretaker, ensuring every pill was taken on time, every meal was prepared just so, every doctor's appointment was attended, though the outside world rarely got a glimpse of his medical state. Was she a devoted partner or a gatekeeper holding Hackman in a gilded cage? The question gained urgency when neighbors reported late-night arguments, muffled but tense, with Betsy's voice apparently cutting each confrontation short. No one dared to intrude. An unspoken pall seemed to envelop the entire property, warding off neighbors and acquaintances with an oppressive sense of dread. Then came the moment that shattered every illusion, a disturbing smell, neither quite rotten nor chemical, reported by the delivery woman who brought medicine to their front door. She found the door ajar, a quiet gloom lurking inside. Following her hunch, police arrived and discovered Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa dead in separate rooms, along with a dog lying lifeless in the hallway. The other two dogs crouched in corners, alive but trembling, their eyes reflecting a primal fear. The initial suspicion was carbon monoxide poisoning, yet the forensic team quickly ruled out any leak from conventional sources, like a malfunctioning furnace or stove. Instead, they detected a faint but lethal concentration of hydrogen sulfide, an uncommon and far more alarming gas, hinting that whatever had transpired here was no simple accident. Investigators were baffled. No reason existed for hydrogen sulfide to lurk in this quiet home unless it had been deliberately introduced or generated by some bizarre chemical reaction. Now, an already eerie scenario escalated to something positively sinister. Police questioned how an elderly, somewhat infirm actor and his much younger wife could have gained access to such a potent toxin, and more importantly, why it was in their home. With both potential witnesses deceased, the mysteries piled on like an avalanche. Local tabloids erupted with stories of possible foul play, but nothing was proven. No forced entry, no sign of the struggle, no direct evidence that a third party had ever stepped foot inside that sorrow-soaked estate. Meanwhile, word spread to Hollywood, which barely gave a nod before returning to its round-the-clock churn of superhero movie announcements and scandalous celebrity divorces. That was the moment Leslie Hackman, Gene's adult daughter from his first marriage, stepped forward, flanked by her siblings. She did not weep openly or deliver an anguished eulogy. Instead, her demeanor was unsettlingly calm, as if weighed down by some colossal secret. Beneath her level tone, the slightest quiver betrayed that she was standing at the precipice of a revelation big enough to topple the memory of the father she once admired. She revealed that the entire family had been shut out for years, left guessing at the condition of their father's health. She painted a picture of quiet, fracturing dynamic between Hackman and Betsy, pointing to tension-laden phone calls that Leslie had overheard on rare family visits and bizarre financial decisions flagged by longtime advisors. Most chillingly, Leslie suggested that the house in Santa Fe was more than a retreat. It was an impermeable fortress shielding 1,000 unspoken truths. Reporters hounded her for more details, their flashbulbs capturing each strained expression on her face. But all she would offer were cryptic suggestions that her father had unfinished business, and that Betsy played a role more complicated than mere caregiver. Then the second bombshell exploded, Gene Hackman's final will. Prepared just months before his demise, it outlined an estate worth around $80 million, spread across real estate holdings, mysterious tech and biotech investments, foreign accounts, and complicated trusts. The distribution was staggering. 40% earmarked for Betsy, who was now gone, 20% to be split among his 3 children, 10% to an arts education charity, and the remaining 30% tied up in a trust that would not be accessible for a decade and whose beneficiary was not explicitly named. The confusion was palpable, and arguments erupted behind closed doors. If Betsy died almost simultaneously with Hackman, under New Mexico law, her share might revert to Hackman's children. But was she, in fact, the rightful beneficiary in some separate arrangement? Did that shift the entire nature of the will? The situation turned into a legal nightmare, forcing the Hackman siblings into a role they never wanted, wrestling with lawyers, accountants, and reams of suspicious documents that spoke of their father's hidden financial dealings. If you're as stunned by these twists as we are, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Prestige Stories, your go-to channel for the strangest, most spine-tingling tales to ever rock the foundations of Hollywood. Because in an industry that thrives on illusions, reality can be darker than any screenplay. Even as the Hackman children rummage through the remaining boxes and sift through old letters for some clue, a half-written note from their father, a scrawled ledger of mysterious payouts, or an old phone record that might identify who Betsy kept calling in the final weeks, the riddle remains unsolved. The bright flashes of paparazzi cameras have faded from the black iron gates, and the mansion, now sealed with official police tape, stands like a mausoleum of secrets nobody knows how to exhume. Will the children let these unresolved mysteries define their father's legacy, or will they bury it all under legal battles, estate settlements, and a vow never to speak of this fiasco again? As for Hollywood, it has largely turned a blind eye, focusing instead on the endless cycle of new releases and trending starlets. In a few short months, Gene Hackman's name may return to fleeting mention when cable channels run his classic films, but seldom will anyone dive into the final puzzle of how he perished. Perhaps that's how the industry has always operated, devouring legends and moving on. Perhaps that's the most tragic detail of all, that one of the greatest actors in American film history can slip away so quietly, wrapped in swirling rumors about hidden wealth, a lethal gas leak, and a will that sends his family into a spiral of infighting and heartbreak. Through it all, Leslie Hackman remains a most perplexing figure, offering no tears, only an unwavering gaze that unsettles everyone who questions her. She once spoke softly to a reporter, "No one truly knew my father, not even me," before turning and walking away. In that single line, she may have captured the entire haunting essence of Gene Hackman's final years. That for all the adoration, fame, and accolades, he ended up as a remote mystery, sealed away in a fortress of his own making, aided by a wife who might have been caretaker, conspirator, or both. Now, all that's left is a hush that clings to the halls of the Santa Fe mansion, a hush that dares anyone to peek behind the expensive drapes and find that the greatest performance of Gene Hackman's life may have been the one he played off-screen, full of masks and illusions no camera ever caught. If you find yourself compelled by these swirling uncertainties, if you crave more deep dives into the hidden underbelly of Hollywood lore, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Prestige Stories right now. Because as the saga of Gene Hackman shows, the brightest lights in Hollywood can cast the darkest shadows, and sometimes it takes decades and a final moment of tragedy to expose the secrets that were right there, buried beneath the surface all along.